The Saints saved their best for last in this one. Of course, no overtime in the NFL's preseason, and so the Jaguars and the Saints go home with the 17-17 tie. Rattler with a little redemption there after he threw an interception on the drive that preceded that touchdown throw. 18 of 24, 199 yards, 19 rushing touchdowns. Nick Mullins does most of the work at the Jacksonville quarterback position, 14 of 17, 112 yards, and an interception. We'll give you Trevor Lawrence's numbers here coming up in a little bit, as well as Tyler Shuck's numbers as the Saints try to figure out their starting quarterback ahead of the season. And maybe what Rattler did there in the end is enough to win him the job. Chris Honorado with you. And now let's bring in our lead NFL draft analyst, host of the With the First Pick podcast, Ryan Wilson, with us here on HQ. All right, Ryan, I'll just ask you, did you see enough there in that one final drive from Rattler to say he should be our guy?
Hey, Chris, good to see you. I think we're going to have to wait one more week for the final installment of this preseason story about who's going to be the starting quarterback. It's no secret I was a huge Spencer Rattler fan coming out last year after he had the up and down, started his career at Oklahoma, went to South Carolina, and I thought he did a lot of things really well in this game, and it was sort of a microcosm of what we saw his last year at South Carolina when he had to do a lot with a little. Now, you can always push back during preseason and say that he's playing with second and third teamers, guys that probably won't be in the final 53, and that's fine, but he made the plays that were available to him. This touchdown throw here, great play by Dante Pettis as well. To start this drive, the drive right after that interception that you talked about, Chris, the very first throw was a corner route to Mason Tippmann. Shout out to Yale Bulldog Mason Tippmann, who had an absolutely fantastic game. And it was a laser to start this drive. It ended in the touchdown, and then we saw the athleticism that we sometimes undersell of his ability to get in the end zone there and outrun a couple of defenders to the pylon. So this feels like the Spencer we saw do the things he did for the Gamecocks. Last year was forgettable at times. He didn't win a single start that he had to make when Derek Carr got hurt. But I don't think the story's over yet. Tyler Shuck, to his credit, played well last week and played well this week. And Spencer came in as the number two. I'll just say this, too, as well. The interception, it looked like Mason Tippmann didn't run the route that Spencer expected. I'm not making excuses. I just wonder what the story's going to be after that if we hear head coach talk about that. Otherwise, I thought both quarterbacks did really well, and I think we're going to have to wait one more week to sort this thing out. You can give the nod to Spencer because it's a little bit more NFL experience, but Tyler Shuck's 26 years old. You know, he's well old enough to rent a car, Chris, so he's also no spring chicken. Yeah, but can he drive the Saints car, right? And what we didn't show you there in the numbers with Shuck is 9 of 12, 66 yards, 2 sacks, and this is the stuff that lives on Twitter, Ryan. He fell down on a sack and then an intentional grounding penalty near his own goal line. So if you're Kellen Moore seeing some of those things, that maybe decision-making comes into play here as well. Rattler with the year of experience. How about Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars side of things here? We know he's the starter, 8 of 10, 76 yards. He did throw a touchdown after, again, blooper that'll live on Twitter, the fumble as he stumbled out of the snap here. You're going to see it here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if an O-lineman gets him as he tries to get to the handoff, but an ugly play before Lawrence is able to throw a touchdown pass. Yeah, the ghost of Mark Sanchez lives into that play. Thank God no butt fumble ensued. But right, so he gets tripped, and then you would just like him to hold onto the ball and live to play another play, and that's fine. But I think one of the things Liam Cohen will probably be excited about, this offense looked a little more crisp this week than it did last week. We didn't see the starters very long, but when we did see them, they looked pretty good. There were fewer pre-snap penalties, which was a huge issue last week, so much so against the Steelers that Liam Cohen had a 40-play practice subsequent to that game last week to try to get all the kinks out in terms of the silly mental mistakes. So they looked a lot more efficient. Brian Thomas Jr. had a drop, and I'm not really concerned about it, but he's not had the preseason that he had a year ago that led to that fantastic rookie campaign. So I want to see a little more consistency from Brian Thomas Jr. He came back, had a catch later in the game. Again, not a huge concern, but you want to see the little stuff cleaned up. But otherwise, other than the Mark Sanchez reference there, they look pretty good. Tank Bixby had a good afternoon as well. So a good start to week 2. I don't know why they didn't have Cam Little out there to win the game for him, but that wasn't Trevor Lawrence's fault.
Yeah, and no Travis Hunter. We've gone hockey with his injury. It's an upper body injury. Your overall outlook, though, Ryan, for Hunter this year would be what? And I guess should we all start thinking a little more cautiously about the idea of him playing as many snaps as we'd like to see as fans, him play on defense and offense?
Yeah, I'm chuckling, Chris, because you want to see him out there for 120 snaps a game, but you also understand, given how physics works, that he probably can't sustain that for more than 3 or 4 weeks in a row, even if that, because the history of his football career has been marred by dings and bruises because he is so incredibly electric as both a receiver and a cornerback that you want him out there all the time because he makes both sides of the ball better. The concern is that he just can't hold up, and I borrow the old NBA term, you need to focus on load management with Travis, because otherwise you're going to have these injuries that linger perhaps more than a week or two, and then you're talking a month or two, and that changes the complexion of what you want to do both offensively and defensively. So we saw a glimpse of him in the Pittsburgh game in week 1 of the preseason. Didn't see him today, and that's okay. Maybe we see him in week 3, maybe we don't. But if he's full 100% to go once the regular season rolls around, I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, are we going to see him for 80 snaps, or are we going to see him for 45 to 60 snaps? And I do wonder how you balance that with the understanding that you don't want to push it too far, because once you push it too far, you can't hop into the time machine and say, okay, let's make sure he doesn't get hurt on this play, because he's going to offer so much to this offense. I mentioned Brian Thomas Jr. struggling a little bit. Someone like Travis Hunter can help those struggles as you work through those things. So that's what Liam Cohen has to figure out. That's what James Gladstone, the GM, has to figure out. But these are good problems to have for a Jaguars team that in recent history has had some concerns about how to get to where they want to go.
All right, well, let's start there with the first-year head coach Liam Cohen now in Jacksonville. Is this a winnable division, the AFC South? The Texans, the favorites there, but if Trevor Lawrence stays healthy and plays like we've seen him play as the #1 pick potential, what do you want to see from Jacksonville this year? A ceiling maybe for the Jags?
They can absolutely win this division. And now, I think we're not taking the Texans as seriously as perhaps we should have. Last year, offensively, the offensive line struggled, and C.J. Stroud took approximately 200 million sacks. But here's the thing. That Texans team won 10 games in back-to-back years, C.J.'s first 2 years in the league, and also won a playoff game in those first 2 years. So there are no slouches over there in Houston. But I think the Jaguars, we can all agree, have underachieved in recent years. It was pretty clear at the end of the Doug Peterson era that this thing wasn't going to work out. So they moved on from him. They fired the GM. I think Liam Cohen is going to do for Trevor, who has to stay healthy, fingers crossed, what he did for Baker. Now, Baker deserves a lot of that credit, obviously, but Liam was dialing up the plays, and I think he's going to put Trevor in position to have that success. I think the offensive line is going to be improved. They drafted Wyatt Milam, who has a chance to start. I think the running back room is going to be incredibly deep. We know about Etienne and we know about Bixby, but they drafted Bashul Tuden and LaQuint Allen, who got some run today. So they're going to take the pressure off of Trevor to do everything. But if you want to throw the ball down the field, we have Brian Thomas Jr. I think Brenton Strange is going to have a huge year tight end. And, of course, that young man we just talked about, Travis Hunter. I think defensively they'll be better as well. Essentially, I'm saying there are really no excuses at this point in a division that's historically been relatively weak in recent years. I think they have every chance to win double-digit games and take it down to the wire with them in Houston to see who's going to be the ultimate division champ.
And Ryan, in New Orleans, the win total over-under is 4.5. So the experts expect the Saints to compete for the worst record in football. What do you think lies ahead for them this season?
I don't know if you were like this, Chris, but when I was in middle school and would bomb a test, I would just tell myself, you know what, will this matter in a year? Maybe it won't. And I say that with the understanding that it may not matter who wins this quarterback job, because 250 days from now, they might be taking a quarterback. Yeah. He probably won't be named Arch Manning, but if they have a high-round pick, neither Tyler Shuck nor Spencer Rattler will have much say in whether it's a quarterback or some other position. So, yeah, the future, according to Vegas, is not bright in the 2024-25 season, for the Saints. But look, one of these quarterbacks, whoever gets the job, can come in and show that they belong and perhaps get this team to 7 or 8 wins. Maybe that changes the conversation. They'll certainly take them out of a top 5 pick. But it's not looking... bleak is the word that comes to mind when you look at this roster. Perhaps they can overcome that, but they just don't appear to have the firepower at the positions of other teams in their division, and that's the concern, and obviously it starts with quarterback.